Well, lads, it appears the Democratic National Convention has officially begun to unfold, and we can see that it has been an absolute disaster. I'm kidding, it hasn't been. It's gone off without a hitch. They're doing quite well. They're drawing massive crowds, and the people there look like they're having fun. So I'm happy for them for that. But here's the thing that we have to pay attention to. It's the intentional shift of how politics is being presented, and it's done so under the auspices of trying to make Kamala Harris more likable. Because they're talking about online that, look at this, Democrats just have more fun. And I don't know if you know this, but politics isn't supposed to be about what's fun. It's supposed to be about talking about the minutia of what matters. But as we can see, Kamala Harris's campaign being built off of nothing more than boilerplate talking points, that's exactly what we're going to see extended in mass to the nature of the machinations of the construction behind the ethos that is trying to be implemented within that of the Democratic National Convention, considering they are trying to bolster Kamala Harris to push her into that of the throne of the White House. It's genuinely stunning to see, but once again, something that you should not be surprised by, because they will do whatever they can to make sure that they can reassert the dynamics of power to always come out on top. And the thing that I absolutely adore about this convention is the fact that once again we see progressive politicians doing nothing more than performative hand waving, acting as if they're more holy and noble than thou, completely demonizing their opposition, acting like they're so much better than those with which they castigate as nothing more than the villains of current society. Well, in the end, you're nothing more than apparatchiks for the powerful, and that is exactly why so many people, both within the independent landscape and within the right, no longer trust so many people that serve the establishment itself. It doesn't matter what wing of the bird that you serve, the right or the left. All that matters is that people have analyzed the fact that you bend the knee to the uniparty industrial complex, and thus you should be pointed, laughed at, and mocked because you are someone who should not be taken seriously. And if there's anything that I would argue shows the fact that so many people within progressive politics shouldn't be taken seriously, it's that they're trying to shift the dynamic of how politics is seen for a new generation to show that politics is fun. Of course, the whole dynamic of showing that Kamala is a fun person is realistically only done because she is so charismatically vacuous that they have no ability to sell her on the merits of her own idealistic understanding of reality. Instead, what they have to do is try and sell you on this faux image of who she is, because everyone behind the scenes that worked with Kamala Harris has talked about so consistently that she is a vile person. She had a 92% staff turnover rate. When she walked into the room, it was mandated that people had to call her general, did not look her in the eyes, and did whatever was necessary when she demanded it, and whatever wasn't necessary whenever she demanded it, which is something that is so interesting. And there are so many different articles talking about this. You can go check it out. Newsweek has an interesting one talking about this specifically. Go ahead, link in the description down below. If I remember, I will put it there. But here's the deal. Once again, the performative standards put forward by the apparatchiks within the Democratic Party, well, they're nothing more than faux talking points. And we saw this handed out by whether it was AOC, we saw it from Barack Obama, and Michelle Obama as well. And the thing that I thought was absolutely stunning was when I went on YouTube, the only thing I saw everywhere I went was Michelle Obama and Barack Obama plastered across the entirety of my feed. Interesting that I never see anything like this when it comes to Donald Trump. And I don't say this as someone who supports Donald Trump. I'm just making a very clear observation with how Google works. But nonetheless, I digress. When you're going and looking through the crowds of the people that are at this Democratic National Convention, I must admit, it didn't look like there was a drop of testosterone in any of the men within that room. In fact, I'd argue Michelle Obama has a higher testosterone count than anyone else there. Let's go ahead now, jump in and see what we've got with the insanity of the Democratic National Convention. Jumping in with CBS News, we see surprise DNC security measures crop up along Mag Mile and other parts of downtown Chicago. And what I don't understand is how this is a surprise to the journalist at CBS News. In what way, shape, or form did you not expect there to be some form of security measures that were brought forward, considering that we knew weeks ago there was going to be a pro-Palestine protest marching around the loops surrounding the Democratic National Convention and the Israeli consulate in Chicago, but you didn't have any mental fortitude to think ahead to consider, I don't know, maybe there's going to be some form of security that's ramped up because there's going to be thousands of people walking the streets of Chicago in protest. Unbelievable. Jumping on to Newsweek, we see DNC builds wall around convention center amid Chicago protest, as should have been anticipated, as was by so many people, and clearly even that of the city of Chicago, but those within the journalist class at CBS News, well, they simply couldn't see that coming. These people are so fundamentally unimpressive that it's unbelievable. Jumping back to CBS News, we see pro-Palestinian protesters march in Chicago on day one of the DNC. Now we jump to Reuters. DNC's pro-Palestinian protests draw thousands in Chicago. And of those thousands of people, what you would need to realize is there will be individuals who are far more ruckus than the average protester, the person who is simply trying to protest peacefully and have their voice heard, and that is what would lead to something like this. Here we see from the AP, some protesters tear down security fence as thousands march outside the Democratic National Convention. But that's not all. Here we see from Chicago, MSNBC, the local channel, more than a dozen protesters arrested after clash with police outside of Chicago's Israeli consulate. Officers called the demonstrations an unlawful assembly. And here you see the reaction of those police who were claiming that these people were protesting and operated as unlawful actors. 72 people were arrested during the protest outside of the Israeli consulate. Tuesday's protest saw police far outnumbering and indiscriminately arresting organizers. As you saw and or heard, clearly it's not just the fact of 12 people being arrested, but now 72, and I'm sure that number has gone up since I've even started recording this video, and I'm sure that there will be more people to be thrown in handcuffs as the week unfolds, because this 4-day convention will most certainly be something that at least has something interesting happen, and we've already seen quite a few interesting things unfold as of late. Specifically, what comes to mind would be, I don't know, how they're restructuring the entirety of the convention itself around Kamala Harris. As you see here from this NPR article in front of you, 29 days, how Democrats had to overhaul their convention in a hurry for Harris. And what this should actually say is 29 days, how Democrats had to overhaul the standard of democracy that was sold to their voting base and install Harris as the Democratic nominee. That is what we're dealing with. Nancy Pelosi effectively admitting that Joe Biden did not want to step down from this position of power that would be running for president again in 2024, but claiming that he was essentially told, we're going to put the 25th Amendment down upon you, and this will be your legacy, one that was destroyed at the behest of your own actions, all because you wouldn't go along to get along. Joe Biden, being a man of the party and very clearly mentally aghast, very well may not have known the nature of what he was entirely dealing with, and thus we see that he was then cast into the field of irrelevance, and well, now we see Kamala Harris as the person who is the frontrunner for the Democratic Party. And what I find so remarkable about this is that in the end, so consistently, the Democrats talk about our sacred democracy. Meanwhile, they will quite literally institute a coup to oust the person who they have used as a corpse on marionette strings to purport the narrative of what they desire for so long. And once that person no longer has viability, they will quite literally throw them into the dustbin of history like Andy tossing Woody away, telling you, I don't want to play with you anymore. Now we jump on to go see something that I found genuinely disturbing, and this is something that I would argue truly reveals the nature of the mindset within that of so many people that are consumed by the progressive ethos. Oh, this is dark. Here we see abortions at the DNC, Planned Parenthood bus providing no-cost service and vasectomies. The organization posted on X that it will provide free medical abortions as well as emergency contraceptives and vasectomies through its mobile health bus Monday and Tuesday. Okay. Does that not sound like the most insane thing you've ever heard? Come to our political rally. What's going on? Well, we're going to be giving out free vasectomies, and we're going to be making sure that you can get free abortions. We're literally sanctifying the nature of death. We're sanctifying the concept of destroying the capacity for creation. And what this reminds me of is the fact that demons cannot create, they can only destroy. And with the fact of me referring to the political class as demons for oh so long, and like I've stated, it doesn't matter whether this is religious for you or we're talking about the nature of being purely grounded in existence in the laws of man, these people are demons no matter what. And this example, it only provides the performative hand wave to prove my point entirely. Alrighty, let's go ahead now and move on to something that I will admit I was a bit shocked by, but not so much when you consider the fact of how we've had things like this crop up in the past, and then there were actually no investigations that really went into this to explain what had unfolded, and it was just used as a talking point in a narrative to browbeat conservatives, right-wingers, and anyone outside of the spectrum of the allowable opinion that is realistically to the right of Bernie Sanders. Here we see another bomb threat has been unveiled. Here we see from the New York Post bomb threats called into 4 Chicago hotels used for the DNC. And this is unacceptable. If this is actually the case and there are people calling in for bomb threats, there's something you need to realize about political violence. And what it is that whatever action you take that leads to violence will only set back your cause a decade at a minimum. Look at the Unabomber's manifesto. I want you to go ahead and read through that if you haven't. Well worth your time. It is damn good, and Ted Kaczynski is spot on about many things, and that's what's so damning, is that he was accurate about so many things with the nature of how the technological landscape was going to shift our understanding of what it meant to be human and how it was going to destroy connectivity amongst man. But he went about his idealistic perception of how to tackle these issues the wrong way. And in doing so, all he did was destroy people's ability to take his message with any bit of credibility, which is exactly what political violence will do if there are those on the right who are actually giving bomb threats and possibly delivering these devices. And what we've seen so far is many of the times when these things are rumored, whether it be like the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping or the bomb hoax outside of the January 6th ordeal, which was just an absolute nonsensical show of fucking chicanery. The fact that they were claiming that, well, you see, this pipe bomber was able to be discovered on video, and then we actually were able to track them down. Oh, I'm kidding. We didn't have any information. We were able to get cellular data on absolutely everyone in the area, and we've been going after people all the way to the tune of old ladies who were simply in Washington, D.C. to go listen to Trump speak, and we're willing to throw them in jail and persecute them with every single thing the law can possibly throw at them, but we couldn't possibly do enough investigation to find out who it is that could have laid this pipe bomb on January 6th. Really. Unbelievable. Well, I'm sure what we'll see here is with the fact of these hotels that had a bomb threat called into them, it will be the fact of the government investigating a situation and finding out that government did nothing wrong. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you for watching if you got this far. Thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely, stay great, tell someone you love them. Peace out.